I've been working in this field of psychology and coaching and research for over 15 years now. So I definitely have seen that there's certain patterns that are common to everybody. They're common to all human beings. And today I really want to support you in being able to become that person that can really handle anything. So let's jump in. And I'm going to talk to you today about 4 things um, to really help build that personal resilience. So we're going to start with the foundation, which is self-care. And I think everyone talks about self-care, but I think it's something that when we're especially stressed, we tend to forget about. So today I'm going to be sharing with you some little things that you can start doing, some implementing today, some really actionable steps so that your self-care is the foundation from which you have a very healthy mental, physical, and emotional state of being. And from that, you will be able to handle many, many things in life. So we're also going to be looking at dealing with the inner self-critic. And again, this is something that actually everybody has. Everybody has an inner self-critic. And if we learn how to deal with that inner self-critic, we can be a lot more powerful in how we show up in our work, in our life, in our relationships. So we're going to talk a bit about that. We're going to talk about this big one, which is our relationship with failure. And again, we all experience failures. We're all going to make mistakes, and how we deal with that is going to determine whether or not we powerfully are able to move forward in life or whether or not those failures actually hold us back. And finally, I'm going to be talking to you today about when you take action on the things that really matter to you, what place you're taking that action from, whether that's from commitment or whether that's from expectation, because this is a common trap that we all get caught up in, where most of the time we're taking action from a place of expectation, and that can actually set you up for not being able to handle failure and mistakes and when things don't go your way. So let's dive in. I'm going to give you some exercises as well that you can start doing today. Because I think when you're receiving information, just remember that the way that you really take action on that information is what's actually going to get you the results that you need in life. So I'm going to give you some tips and strategies that you can take action on today. So let's have a look first at what are the danger signs that you're under too much stress and stuck in overwhelm, because I think, how do you know when you're actually at a place when things are not going so well, and when the stress and the overwhelm and the challenges that you're facing are beginning to have an impact on you? Everybody goes through stress, everybody goes through challenges, but it's really kind of tapping in and figuring out whether or not we're at a place where we're doing okay with handling those things, or whether or not they actually are getting overwhelming and we're not able to really manage that. So if you're feeling any of these things, then this is an indication that you might be under too much stress and you might be getting stuck in overwhelm. So if you're having a feeling of anxiety on a regular basis, that is already an indication that you could be under too much stress. Everybody experiences anxiety. It's quite a normal thing to experience, especially when you're stepping outside your comfort zone or when things are piling up. But if you're beginning to feel it almost on a daily basis, really take note that that might be an indication that you're actually under too much stress. Equally, losing motivation to take action on the things that really matter to you. So when you're feeling a lot of stress and anxiety, you may begin to not feel motivated to keep moving forward and take action on the things that matter to you. Feeling overwhelmed with your long to-do list. So when you have things to do, when you're feeling quite vulnerable and stressed out, what can happen is that we begin to feel overwhelmed with actually getting through all the tasks that we need to take action on. And you might be even starting to do one thing, but you're already thinking about the next thing and the next thing and the next thing that you have to do. So just keep in mind that if you're starting to feel overwhelmed, that's equally an indication that you may be doing too much. making poor choices when it comes to your own well-being. So again, when we're under stress and we're losing that resiliency, we may be making poor choices when it comes to like the very simple things, you know, how much sleep we're getting, whether or not we're fueling our bodies with the right nutrition, taking time off just to relax. All those things begin to get depleted. So we have to really start looking at how effective are we in making healthy choices. And if we're under stress, we need to start looking at those choices that we're making. Equally, not being present in the moment, being inside your head all the time. So what that means is that when we're feeling too much stress and overwhelm, we're not actually able to be fully present in being here now in the present moment. So what can happen is that you could be worrying about the future, or you could be ruminating about the past. And what that means is that you're not actually able to be effective in the present, in the now that's happening. And so you're constantly, you know, maybe thinking about things that you have to do or that you're worrying about, or you could be thinking about what's already happened that maybe didn't go well. And so it takes you away from being fully present in the moment and being effective in the now, which is actually where your whole life is happening, in the now. Think of it like, you know, if you want to get to a particular destination, you have to get into your car. To get you to that destination, you have to make sure that your car has fuel, is serviced, is running okay. There's nothing breaking down in the car, that everything is in place in order for the car to get you to that destination. And our bodies, you know, our physical, mental, and emotional well-being is a similar thing. If we really want to be able to perform really well at work, if we want to be able to make good decisions, right? If we have to solve problems, we have to be in a particular state of being where we can handle those challenges and we can really perform at our best. So I'm going to go through a few things here on the list as things that you can start doing today to really start practicing self-care as a daily habit. Because one of the things that tends to go out the window when we're very busy and we have a lot to do is our own self-care. So one of the first things that I share with people is to really create a morning ritual to start the day. So this can include things like exercise, meditation, which is really just sitting and focusing on your breath and kind of slowing things down and letting go of do. You're just kind of being with yourself for a few minutes. A focus on gratitude is another really positive way to start your day. Focus on our dreams, so really kind of visualizing what is it that I really want to accomplish, what is it that I really would love to experience in my life. Balanced breakfast, like the basics of just really fueling your body with the right nutrition in the morning. And maybe even looking at some positive, inspiring content in the morning. You know, it could be something you read, it could be listening to music or videos. Maybe you're going to have you could do a little dance in the morning. You want to, if you take that 20, 30 minutes in the morning to really do things that make you feel good, you set yourself up for the rest of the day to really be able to handle anything that life throws at you, and you carry that positive energy with you for the rest of the day. So the foundation of starting your day is really, really key. And the other thing is balance being with doing. So rest, work, and play. Again, this sounds simple, but it's so common to actually see people not doing this, right? So we tend to kind of get really busy with work, and we forget that we actually equally need to build in time to rest and to play and to have fun and to go out and do the things that we really enjoy. So notice whether or not you are building time in to be just as much as time to do things. When you take time to rest and recharge your batteries, then when you actually go to do things, you are a lot more productive, you're a lot more efficient, you have a lot more creative ideas that flow to you because your mind and your body have received the time to rest and just have fun. So I've put on here to listen to your body and emotions as a guidance system, because our bodies are always speaking to us, right? If we're not listening to our physical sensations and our emotions and paying attention to that, then eventually they're going to get louder and louder and louder, to a point where you might actually get physically sick. And then your body's like, okay, we're done. You need to rest now. So just tap into what you're feeling, and if your body's telling you to slow down, and pay attention and listen. And finally, the last thing is allow yourself to feel whatever you need to feel. Because when we're talking about well-being on a physical, mental, and emotional level, we need to really also understand that there's going to be days that are not going to go perhaps the way you wanted. There's going to be times when you feel upset. There's going to be times when you feel frustrated or sad. Don't be afraid to feel those emotions, and just to sit with those emotions and allow that emotion to be there. If you think of your emotions just like energy that just needs to move through you, and you allow that energy to be there and accept it, then you can deal with things a lot better, because those emotions will come and they will go, right? What happens is that we often only want to feel the positive emotions, and we want to really numb out and run away from the negative emotions. But the thing is that those emotions equally need to be felt. And even just giving yourself a few minutes a day to really check in and allow yourself to just be with whatever it is you're feeling can do wonders, right? Just giving yourself that space. I'm going to give you a few minutes to grab a piece of paper and a pen and to take on board this exercise that you can start today. You can build this into your morning routine, which is an exercise of gratitude. So instead of focusing on worry in the morning, what if you focus on what you can appreciate in your life right now, no matter what is happening around you? So grab a piece of paper, grab a pen, and I want you to just take a minute to write down 3 things that you can appreciate in your life right now. Write down 3 things that you are proud of yourself for. Acknowledge yourself, because we don't do this often enough. And if there's anything that you need to let go of or you need to forgive yourself for, write down three of those things. Just I'm going to give you a minute or two just to see top 3 things that pop into your mind. Don't think too much about it. Doing this on a daily basis will put you in a positive state first thing in the morning, because instead of focusing on worry and on the things that you have to do and the problems you have, you're going to start your day focusing on what you can appreciate, what you can be grateful, what you can appreciate about yourself, and what you can forgive yourself for. Okay, so now we're going to go into dealing with our inner critic. And I just want to share that everybody has one, because most of us have had experiences from our past of failure, rejection, shame, and humiliation, right? When we were kids, when we were teenagers, when we were young adults, maybe even yesterday you had an experience like this. But because we've all had those experiences, what tends to happen is the way that we cope with those experiences doesn't always end up serving us. So equally, we often internalize. So if you had an experience of rejection, or you had an experience of failure, or you've had an experience of being criticized by, parents, teachers, peers, we often internalize that past criticism and those experiences as negative beliefs about ourselves. And that's where the inner critic can begin to come out. Equally, if there was a time when maybe we received love and approval, but it was based on meeting certain conditions, that can equally set us up for feeling like if we're not meeting certain conditions, then we're not worthy enough, we're a failure, we're not good enough. So this sometimes happens, within learning environments at school, where we sort of are taught, that we have to perform, and if we're not performing, then we're somehow a failure. Or it can be maybe within the family, if you feel like you've had experiences in the past where maybe your parents said that you have to do this, and then if you did that, then you were rewarded and you were given love and approval, but maybe if you didn't do it, they were upset. And so you know, as a child, you're making things mean something, and we're often in these experiences giving ourselves very negative meanings. Like, what does this mean about me? And that's when, you know, we begin to criticize ourselves. So often what we need to do is we need to just start becoming aware of the self-dialogue inside our minds, particularly when we're feeling vulnerable, because that's when the critic tends to pipe up, is when we're quite vulnerable. And if we can begin to change that dialogue from self-criticism to self-compassion, then we're really going to be feeding that part of ourselves that needs that reassurance and that needs that comfort to know that actually we're okay, everything's going to be okay, and we don't need to be so hard on ourselves. And it's easier said than done. So one of the ways that I encourage you to try this on is to really, when you're feeling vulnerable and you're noticing that perhaps maybe you're, you know, being quite critical or quite hard on yourself over something, is to start thinking about a time back in your life where you may have felt vulnerable in the past. Maybe there was an experience in your childhood, and to really think of yourself as that younger version of you, and think about, what did you need in that moment? Like, what kind of reassurance did you really need that you never got in that moment? And start speaking to yourself from that place of being that supportive best friend, you know, that coach, that loving parent that could speak to that younger part of you, that younger child part of you that maybe is needing that reassurance because you're feeling vulnerable. And really just start speaking to yourself in a different way. It takes practice, but I assure you that if you think of yourself as that younger version of you, and you kind of think, you know, when I was a young child, this is all I needed was somebody just to tell me, you know, you're going to be okay, and you're worthy of having everything that you desire, and you're absolutely capable at this. You know, sometimes it's those kind of messages that we really just need to hear over and over again. But the most powerful person that can give us this message is ourselves. Okay, so now we're going to talk about our relationship with failure. And this is a key one, because everyone has experienced failure in their lives, but the key question is, what mindset do you have in relation to failure? And this is so key, because I think that we tend to live in a world where majority of the time we believe that failure is a bad thing, at least for most people. I know I was one of those people as well. I used to think, oh my God, failure is horrible, and I can't mess up, and I can't do things wrong. And then I realized how disempowering that perspective is, because it comes from this fixed mindset, right? So a fixed mindset is this belief that failure is a horrible thing. And even more disempowering is the fact that we interpret an episode of failure to mean I'm a failure. So if I mess this up, then it means that I'm just not good at this. I'm failed at this part of my life. And it means that we're you know, that inner critic begins to pipe up again, right? So from this fixed mindset, we strive to get things done perfectly, which puts a lot of pressure on us to perform. And we're also focused on outcome over process. So we're very attached to the results that we're getting rather than the process that's happening to get to those results. And oftentimes we won't try things unless we feel very, very confident in the results. So what that sets us up for is not fully taking risks and just going for things, because we're like, no, I need to make sure that I get this right before I do it. And with that level of avoidance, we don't actually go and create these powerful results because we're so afraid of failing. So think about how different it would be if you start moving into this growth mindset. Growth mindset is all about embracing failure and seeing failure as an opportunity to learn and grow. You can learn lessons from every experience of failure and understand that it's actually a part of the road to success. So this completely changes the game, because if you embrace failure and you give yourself permission to fail and learn from your mistakes, you become a person who is literally unstoppable. And Every single successful person out there will tell you that they failed multiple times before they reached success, and they actually embrace it. They have this growth mindset where they use failure as fuel to keep going and to keep getting better. They see it as like the process of learning. And if you think about, maybe a time when you were learning how to ride a bicycle as a kid, you probably didn't get on your bicycle the very first time and think, okay, that didn't work out for me, and therefore I'm never going to be able to ride a bicycle. Like as a child, we tend to have a growth mindset, and then as adults, we tend to sort of move more into a fixed mindset. So know that when you start developing a growth mindset and you start practicing this focus on progress over perfection, and you really just start giving yourself permission to fail more, you're gonna be a lot more motivated to take risks and just to go for it. And because of that, you're gonna create much more powerful results. And lastly, I'm gonna talk about commitment versus expectation. So dovetailing on what I just said there about taking action, it's really important to ask yourself, when you take action on the things that matter to you, or you have a particular result you want to create, whether you're taking that action from a place of expectation or commitment. So what this diagram shows is that when you're taking action from a place of expectation, so you really want to create a certain outcome or a certain result, and you go to take action and you're immediately expecting it to go a certain way, when it doesn't go that way, when that expectation doesn't go fulfilled, what we're left with is a lot of upsets and a lot of frustration. And that, unfortunately, tends to make us want to give up. We don't feel motivated to keep going because we feel like, it didn't go the way I wanted it to. And all of that negative self-dialogue begins to pop up, like, am I actually good at this? Is this going to work? Should I even try again? So think about shifting into this place of commitment, right? If you take action from a place of commitment, what that means is that you become committed to a particular outcome, no matter what. No matter how many times it goes unfulfilled, you're still going to keep going. So you're always left with this commitment of what's the next action step that I can take to keep demonstrating my commitment to creating this particular result in my life. And on that note, I want to very, very quickly also give you a minute as we're finishing up here to take a few minutes and to just jot down on a piece of paper one thing that you're really committed to creating in your life. And maybe it could be in your work environment. Maybe there's a particular goal that you're working on right now in your organization or your business. And just jot down, what are 3 actions that I need to take right now to demonstrate what I'm actually committed to? And then jot down, what expectations do I need to let go of when I go to take those actions? I'm going to give you a quick minute to do that. And again, if you need more time, just go back to the replay and take a few more minutes to do this. But when you let go of your expectations around taking that action, you completely free yourself. You're just coming from commitment, and you're like, I'm doing this. It's going to happen. I'm committed to creating that result no matter what. Okay, so here's what we went through today. I know it's a lot, but I want to give you guys as much value as possible. So the first thing is self-care as a daily habit. Okay, so you've got an exercise that you started today on beginning with gratitude. Try that on. Do it for 30 days. See what changes in your life when you take on board a simple change like that of waking up in the morning practicing gratitude. We talked about our relationship with failure. And practice choosing a growth mindset over a fixed mindset. And lastly, we talked about taking action from commitment over expectation. And you had this exercise of identifying your commitments and choosing actions that demonstrate those commitments. So I'm going to finish there. And I just want to share with you guys that if you found that this was useful and you want to learn more, I am going to be doing an event in Manchester on July 16th, which I encourage you to come. It's going to be for 3 hours, and I'm meeting it with 3 other amazing female coaches. It's open to men, women, people of all ages. We're selling early bird tickets right now. You can find it on Eventbrite. So if you click on that link there, you'll be able to find it. You can also follow us on Instagram from Fear to Freedom 2018. If you want to find out more about me, you can find more information on my website, drkashawilk.com. You can follow me on Facebook, on Instagram at drkashawilk, and I hope you got a lot of value from today. I'm very excited because Julie and myself are going to be offering you guys a lot more things in the near future. We're going to be doing workshops later on in July, focused on how to really build more personal resilience in the workplace. I'm also going to be offering some online master classes with you all. So there's going to be a lot of good stuff coming. But I encourage you today to just take what you heard today and really just put it into action, because that's where you begin to see results. It's not so much just taking in the information and doing nothing. It's when you actually apply the information into your life. So take on board that challenge, try these things out, and I really, really hope to see you on July 16th and to keep in touch over the next few weeks when we're going to be doing some more exciting things with Julie. Thank you guys so much, and I hope you have an amazing day. Bye-bye.